Hello, everybody. I am Peter the Book Lover, and this is my list of my top 100 books. This is the third video of the progress, and this is from 80 to 71. There are a lot of great books here that I want to talk about, so let's talk about them. Hello, everybody. I am Peter the Book Lover, and I like to read a lot of books, and this took me a little time to come up with this list because this is a lot. You have to read a lot of books to come up with a list like this, and I finally came up with my list of my top 100 books. Now I've got some great books that I want to talk about here, and I'm gonna enjoy talking about them, and hopefully you will enjoy it too. But before I get into the video, I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate you giving me your time. I love that you're here. Thank you for being here. Okay, let's start off with the first one. Now, number 80 is from 1900 even, and this was written by Frank L. Baum, and this is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Now, some books might title it The Wizard of Oz, and the movie is called The Wizard of Oz, but the book is called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. And this is a wonderful book. I really enjoyed this. This is, in my opinion, a little bit better than the movie. Although at the same time, there are some additions to the movie that are really entertaining. So I love the movie and I love the book, but there are some things about the book that I like a little bit more than the movie. And this is an incredible book. The pacing of this book is fantastic. I recently read this. I read this a couple days ago, and I just finished The Marvelous Land of Oz, and that's a good book as well. I'm planning on reading more books in this series of books, and they're wonderful. But this one, The Wizard of Oz, is on my list, and I highly recommend it. The Wizard of Oz. The Marvelous Wizard of Oz. Okay, the second one that I'm going to talk about is book number 79, and this is from 1886, written by Robert Louis Stevenson, and this is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And this is a fantastic book. I read this book twice, and the first time I read this book, I was a little disappointed. I was expecting something different. I was expecting Hyde to actually be small, drink it, and become bigger and more ominous. But in the book, he actually kind of shrinks down and has a wicked personality when he takes the drug and becomes Mr. Hyde. It's different than what they portray in movies. But it's still, I love the movies and I love the book. The book is really interesting. One surprising thing about the book, it's like a book that's not written in the time that it was written. It's written in the past. They talk about the things that happen. And it's a pretty interesting thing. I definitely enjoyed it a lot more the second time I read it. Now, chances are you're gonna get a copy with the extra stories. The extra stories are okay, but none of the stories are as good as the story of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I highly recommend it, and a lot of other people do too. So, if you get a chance, check it out. Okay, number 78 is a book that was written in 1976. This was written by George Lucas, and chances are you know what this is. This is Star Wars. Now, I love the movie Star Wars. Star Wars is a fantastic movie. I've watched it many times. I really can't get sick of watching that movie. There was a time when I was younger that I watched it, like, I think the 20th time that I watched it, and I said to myself, I don't think I'm ever going to need to see this movie again. I was wrong, because to this day, I love watching Star Wars. And when I mention this, the book on my list is actually Star Wars A New Hope, but I highly recommend pretty much all the Star Wars books. I love Return of the Jedi. I love reading Empire Strikes Back. I recently read The Phantom Menace, and that was amazing. I've got books on my shelf that I plan on reading of other movies. I've got Revenge of the Sith. I got a book of that, and I'm looking forward to reading that. I got a mini book about The Force Awakens. I want to read that. I love reading Star Wars books. I have since I was a kid, especially if it's a picture book because I love the pictures. I love Star Wars a lot and I love the book. That's number 78. I highly recommend it. Okay, number 77. This is from 1956, written by Fred Gibson, and this is Old Yeller. And this is a wonderful story about a wonderful dog, and you're going to love this dog by the end of this book. Now, the thing about this book, one of the things that really stuck me was how it began. In the beginning of this book, this is narrated by the main character. I think his name is Taylor. And he says that when I first met Old Yeller, I wanted to kill him. Later on, when I had to kill him, I felt like I was killing a family member. And that really grabs you in the beginning. And as you go through all these adventures, this dog is incredible. He was a really amazing dog. And, I really didn't like the ending. But believe it or not, the ending wasn't as sad as the thought of some of the things happening in this book. You know that he's going to die because it lets you know in the beginning of this book. And when you see how heroic this dog is, you're thinking, oh man, this dog is going to die. And you thought when you got to the part when he actually has to go, that it would be more powerful. But it's like, didn't really break me up as much as I thought it would. But this book is a short read. It's a fantastic read, and I highly recommend it. Okay, the next up is number 76. And this was a book written by Louisa May Alcott. And this was a book that was written in 1868. And this is probably her most famous book. This is called Little Women. Now, Little Women is a nice little story. Actually, if you read this book, what it will surprise you is this is two books in one. And they're both amazing stories. This is a story about these young sisters that wind up growing up to be women. Now, this book is not filled with a lot of action, but there's a lot of lessons in this book, and the lessons are very good. And if you read an abridged version of this, chances are you're going to read the first half of this book. And then when you read the full book, you're going to be surprised at the ending because some things that you do not expect to happen. But yes, this is a great book. I highly recommend it. Little Women's was a great read. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And if you gave it a shot, I think you would enjoy it too. Okay, number 75 is another great book. This one's a little bit longer. This came out in 2007. This was written by Dan Simmons. And this is the book called The Terror. And this was a fantastic book. Now, this is a little bit longer of a book, but what this story is about is based on a true story, but there's a fictional story attached to this true story. The true story is these ships that were traveling the world. They took a detour and went to like Iceland, to an area where there's a lot of freezing cold water. And these two ships wind up getting frozen, stuck in the ice, and they can't move forward. And they wind up being stuck together. And there's so much ice that they could literally walk from ship to ship, on the ice because there's so much ice. And they can't move forward because the ice is too thick. And there's also a character in this book that's an incredible villain. But what makes this interesting, there is the same time there's this creature that's attacking them as they're, because they go back and forth, and there's a creature that snatches people and kills people, and they're trying to find out this creature. It's a lot like a polar bear, but it's not really a polar bear. And there's some great scenes with this creature. There's also some great scenes with this character named Hickey. He's a great villain. And there are some surprising things that happen in this book. This book is like 7, maybe 750 pages, and it's a long read, but it's a fantastic read. I liked it a lot, and I highly recommend it. Okay, now we're going to go into book number 74. This one was written in 2005. This was written by Markus Zusak, and this is a book called The Book Thief. And this is actually considered a children's book, but it's kind of hard for me to believe this is a children's book because it deals with some very serious issues. What this story is about a young German girl that's living in World War II times, and she's living with a family that's hiding a Jew. And it goes to the problems this family has on what they got to do to hide this Jewish person and her relationship with this Jewish guy that they're hiding. And the reasons why it's called a book thief is because she actually steals these books, and there's a lot of stories that go into the books she steals. There's this one German lady that knows that she's stealing books, and she actually wants her to steal the books. And this is a very touching story, and it really shows you an angle of World War II that you really don't see a lot on what the German people went through during the Holocaust, because, not all the German people were behind this. They were actually forced to be on the Nazi side, and the Nazis would threaten to kill your family if you didn't go along with everything. So I don't think that you should think about the German people just ignoring the things that happened during World War II. They knew what was going on, but if they tried to get involved, it meant a lot of trouble for them. This is a great book. I highly recommend it. I love it. Fantastic book, The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. Check it out. Okay, now we've got number 73. This is a book written in 1990, and this was written by Michael Crichton. And this is connected to a fantastic movie. This is Jurassic Park, and you probably know what Jurassic Park is about, but if not, this is a story about in modern times they actually use DNA samples and they reconstruct dinosaurs, and they bring dinosaurs to life, and they open up a park. And in this park, they're building this park, they're working on this park, and they want to release it to the public. But in the process of making this park, somebody dies, so they have an investigation, and the people that come to investigate this wind up getting stuck on this Jurassic Park, and they get stuck in the park, and there's a lot of exciting things that happen in this book. And there's the movie by Steven Spielberg, which is a fantastic movie, but the book is really incredible as well. I really enjoyed this book a lot. Believe it or not, there are some parts of this book are actually in Jurassic Park Part 3. The addition to the book is the cages where they have the pterodactyls in it, and it's wonderful. This is a fantastic book. I really enjoyed it. It matches the movie quite a bit, but it's a little bit different as well. And this was a fantastic read. I loved it a lot. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton is a book that I recommend. Okay, now we have number 72. Now, number 72 is a book that came out in 2006, written by John Boyne. And this is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. This is another story set on the angle from German people. And this is a German boy that has a father is a military officer. And they actually move into a house across the way from a concentration camp. And this German boy actually winds up making friends with a Jewish boy on the other side of the fence. And this is a young boy, so he doesn't know a lot of things. He's too young to understand a lot of things. As a matter of fact, he's jealous of the boy that's in the concentration camp because he's in this house and he's really bored, and he was taken away from his nicer house, and now he's in this new house and it's not as nearly as good as his old one. And when he meets this boy that's a Jew, he befriends him, and he actually thinks that they're having a better time in the concentration camp. And this has a fantastic ending. I love the ending, and this is a great book. I highly recommend it. This is another book that can be considered a children's novel because it's very simple, and I loved it, and I think that if you gave it a shot, you would enjoy this too. Okay, the last book that I'm going to talk about in this episode is a book that came out in 1952. This was a book written by Ernest Hemingway, and this is The Old Man and the Sea. And what this story is about a fisherman, an old guy that's a fisherman, and he catches a marlin. And this is his adventures trying to get this marlin on shore, and it's pretty interesting. There's more to the story than that. There's some things that happen when he's on land and his decision to go out fishing, and he gets stuck with this marlin, and there's a lot of sharks in this book, and this is a very entertaining book written by Ernest Hemingway. I really enjoyed this a lot. This is a short book. This is a book that I think it's 89 pages, but it's a very, very good read. I like this a lot, and I think if you gave this a shot, you'd like it too. So that's it. That's from 80 to 71, and I hope you agree with me. If you do, let me know in the comments. If you disagree, let me know in the comments as well. And if you can you please give me a like? Every single like that I get on my videos means a lot to me. I thank you for all the likes that you give me. And if you haven't subscribed, I really would appreciate it if you subscribed. I make videos all the time, so it's worth your time to subscribe if you like the content. And that's it for this episode. I've got another one to film today, so I've got more to film, but that's it for me in this video, and I want to thank you for coming by, and I will see you in the next video.